A little background here. It's 1950, this story, but the background is this. In 1936, a very handsome bass player, 31 years old, with a traveling orchestra, was on stage at Dallas's Adolphus Hotel on the Century Room bandstand. And when in walked a not quite yet 20-year-old, natural blonde, imagine that in Dallas, a natural blonde, with enormous chartreuse eyes, and I might add, an heiress, getting her master's degree at 20, walked in and took a table alone. That story is a story unto itself, but let's just put it this way. They left for New York the next morning together, and he was fond of saying that she was disinherited, but he won the lotto. And he did. So now it's 14 years later, and they've got 2 children. The older sister, who will remain invisible in this room, but she will go under the table and above it periodically. And the 5-year-old son, which would be me. So John Haney Gilliland and Mary Lucy Clark Gilliland are giving a cocktail party. Now, Dad had founded the Gilliland Sextet, which was kind of the go-to orchestra for the society crowd, and he was on WRR, and he sometimes played with a symphony. Mother was book reviewer for the Dallas Morning News. She had gone on to get her Juilliard degree at Juilliard in classical piano, and she was very close friends with the director Margot Jones of the Experimental Theater. So the party now in 1950 begins in the backyard. So in the backyard, it's all draped down. Mother has done sheets that she's painted French cafe scenes on, white sheets. Eiffel Towers, the Champs-Élysées, the Arc de Triomphe, and little cafe tables, and everybody's walking around. There was no bartender, but everybody's drink was always full. The men were in jackets. The women were all in halters, or they were in straplesses. Very fitted waists, full skirts, evening sandals, loop earrings. Mother was wearing earrings that dangled with little tiny bells on the end of them. She'd cut her hair off in an Italian cut, and she only wore mascara and her signature Cherries in the Snow Revlon lipstick. And Mitsuko by Guerlain perfume, you who might remember. And she's walking through, and she is in this. When she threw it out, I cut it off because I knew I'd grow up and want a pocket square someday. And this is the fabric. So this 1950 party, she's wearing a halter out of this. It's fitted. It's a fitted waist. It's Toreador pants, which are exactly what you might think, men. And then there's a fitted skirt that buttons up the front that's open with pockets, and that's what she's wearing with her sandals. And as I looked around out there, it was really quite obvious that this was a moment in time, but the real party was inside when the lights went down. I was smart enough at 5 years old to realize that if I said nothing to anyone, made no eye contact, I was invisible to them, and they thought that they were inaudible to me. Wrong! So I was like this sort of stealth, this like, it was a drone. So I walk into the living room, and our house was small, but listen, the living room was 20 by 30. That's enormous. And at this end is Mother's upright piano, and then Dad's over there on the string bass, and then next to him's McClendon on drums, and then Weta Ferguson is singing Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. Over there in that corner, I see this new playwright that's in town with Margot named Tennessee Williams, and he's holding hands with this young blonde guy from SMU who had gone on to win lots and lots of drama awards, who grew up to be Aaron Spelling. Let's text Terry. That's the reality series I want to do. But getting back to the story. I look over there then, and there's Bob Ramsey, who, of course, is like family friends, and, Bob and Neville. Neville had been Mother's frenemy. You know, she wore her hair in a platinum sort of Veronica Lake page boy. And Mother, being a natural blonde, she was never a vain woman, oddly enough. She didn't have to be. She was beautiful naturally. But she was so outraged that everybody thought Neville had this natural Nordic blonde hair. When Mother said, you know, it's fried more than ham in a bistro. I mean, she's like, but there was never a root. Mother had a standing bed. I'll pay you if you can spot a root. But, you know. So anyway, Bob and Neville were family friends, and there's Bob over there, and Bob is starting to nod out. And I say, you know, Mother's passing by, and, you know, she's got her drink in her hand, her cigarette, and she's got her hand in her pocket. And I say, you know, Mother, what's wrong with Mr. Ramsey? And she turned to me and she said, well, Harrison, that's what she called me. It's my middle name. She said, Harrison, Bob's become enamored of a perfectly dreadful intoxicant called heroin, and as you can see, it just makes him an insufferable bore, and then moved on. So then I look over here, and there's Neville, his wife Neville, and Neville is flirting with one of these SMU students. And see, I thought Mother was really doing an awful lot to try to further SMU academics because she showed so much interest in all these male SMU students, which my sister went on to explain to me went way beyond, you know, conjugating verbs. But that's a whole other show. But I look over and there's Neville and she's with this guy, and I see them start to go off, and they're going through the dining room into the hall, and they go into the bathroom alone. And I know at 5 that that's unnatural. I mean, so I would never go. I go through the hall and around through Mother and Dad's bedroom and then into my childhood bedroom, and I get up on the bed, and I know that I'm not going to look in there and I'm going to be violating somebody who's actually going to the bathroom. You know that. There's 2 people in there. So I peek through the blinds, and at first, let me give you this background. Mother had painted the bathroom pink and had done, and all the lavatory, the toilet, the tub, everything she had painted black. And then she had painted the bathroom pink and then done these cartoon black footprints going up out of the toilet bowl over the ceiling. And we'd lie there and, you know, and we'd in the bathtub because nobody had showers then, and we loved it. So when I looked in, I thought, well, Neville was kind of like in, you know, I'd been out and seen the Grauman's Chinese Theater where they, you know, see if my foot fit. And I thought the reason her legs were in the air is because she's trying to see if they fit, you know. And I thought this guy's just trying to help her see if they fit. And then all of a sudden I went, oh my God. And Neville turned around and made eye contact with me, and the high decibel yell that she let out, not only did it deafen neighborhood dogs, but I can only call it like a sonic boom orgasm. I think it was just a well-timed moment when she realized I was looking. So he disappeared immediately. You know how men just leave, you know. But Neville, to her credit, did retrieve her Shantung capris from the towel rack very quickly. And when I re-entered the party, she was nowhere to be seen. Now, a little background as I enter back into the living room party. I see Bobby Goodman coming in. Bobby Goodman was from a very, very well-known Park Cities family, meaning Highland Park then. And here's the background on what Bobby Goodman had done to me in 1949 when I was 4. My father's band played at the VFW, and of course I know you'll be shocked. I'm glad you're all seated, but they had legal gambling at the VFW in Dallas in 1949. And my father, I was still a night owl then. I loved listening to the jazz. And so Daddy would like give my sister and me quarters and nickels to play the slot machines. So I'm up on a chair and I'm playing the slot machine. And I'm not kidding you. This slot machine just started vomiting nickels. I mean, just vomiting nickels. They just kept coming and they were spilling on the floor and everything. And of course, I turned to the, you know, and everything. And can you imagine how thrilled I am? And all of a sudden I hear, I'm hit like that and the chair's knocked. And I turn around and there's Bobby standing there like all of a sudden, you know, he's Miss America. And I'm saying, wait a minute. that's mine. And he turns to all the people. Now, this is a wealthy man. Turns to all the people and says, isn't it a shame when children don't know their place? And I just remember, well, now back to the party. And here comes Bobby Goodman. Oh, yes. Mother always let me do her signature, help her do her signature confection that she handed out. And it was very exotic then to have white chocolate. And the white chocolate cubes were like a half-inch cubes. And then she would dip them in bittersweet. And she would allow me to go around and pass these out about halfway, 2/3 through the party. And again, like Lord Fauntleroy or something, making no eye contact with, the plate with a napkin over it. And I saw Bobby come in, and Bobby always took more than his share. So I purposely pushed 2 of those chocolates out toward the end, kind of like those kids that play go fishing, take 2 cards, any card, and you push it up. I had it out there, and I knew he would take both of them and gobble them, at the same time. Well, he did, in which case then he went, because you see, Bobby's, I'd custom made for him. They weren't white chocolate. That was ivory soap. And all of a sudden he's going, and these guys take him and they take him out in the yard, and I can hear all the projectile vomiting going on. And I can hear him screaming, Harrison did that. That child's a monster. And in which case then I can also hear they're pouring him in a cab and sending him home. And as they're driving away, I turn to the people offering again chocolates and say, isn't it a shame when adults don't know their limit?